Shalom, giving all praises to Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai, and double honors to the apostles, bishops, and elders of Great Millstone. Shalom to you, hopefully elect. I'm your brother Yahweh Call from Great Millstone, Orlando. And I've got this video here by the Manosphere Highlights Daily. And as the title reads, so you prefer to be alone. Here's why that's a good thing. The power of solitude. All right. And like the scriptures say, which I'll go ahead and grab that. Being that we're, especially now more than ever, we got to be locked in 144%. Keeping the main thing, as the elders say all the time. And just keeping your house shot at the forefront of everything, keeping our eye single. I'll probably grab that later on. Because everything is about Yahweh Shai and ushering in the kingdom of Yahweh Shai, because the kingdom of Yashar Allah is by default the kingdom of Yahweh Shai. All right. And being that we're so close to the end, and there's so many distractions, this is why the Lord keeps us on a real thin line when it comes to being abased, when it comes to being content, rather. We're content. All right, the Lord's given us our daily bread, just enough to make it. Being soldiers, which I'm going to grab here. Bear with me. So this is the book of 2 Timothy 2 and 3. It says, "Thou therefore endure hardness as a good soldier of Yahweh Shah HaMashiach." And like it tells you in what is that? 1 Peter 4:1, having the same mind that Yahweh Shai had. All right. And basically, Yahweh Shai, he was focused on the mission and doing the will of the Heavenly Father. All right. So when you go into this word, because like it's said to be a good soldier for Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, which goes into this word, solitude, solitary. All right. Because again, with the many distractions that brothers have got going on, there's this sort of a special ability in just being able to zoom out, zone everything out, zoom out, and just, like I've said, keep the main thing, think bigger picture, and so on and so forth, because that solitude is good, and that's why I wanted to play this video. It's roughly 7 minutes. So, we're going to get through this video, Lord willing, without further ado. And of course, copyright disclaimer of fair use. I'm not making any type of monetary gain off this video. It's just strictly for informational purposes only. So without further ado.
Reason why some men prefer to be alone. And no, it's not because they're broken, antisocial, or miserable. See, society pushes this idea that if you're alone, something must be wrong with you, that you must be struggling, that you must be missing out. But here's the reality. There's a difference between loneliness and solitude. Loneliness is when you crave connection but don't have it. Solitude is when you choose to be alone, because that's where you thrive. Some men don't feel drained by isolation. They feel recharged by it. They don't avoid social interaction out of fear. They avoid it because their best thinking, their best work, and their best energy come from being alone. So, if you prefer to be alone, let me tell you right now, you're not broken. You're built different, and that can be a good thing.
Now it's time for us to get into this and do what we gotta do. Because we many.
Psychologists have been studying this for decades. There's a reason why some men naturally lean towards solitude, while others constantly seek social validation. A study published in the British Journal of Psychology found that highly intelligent people are actually happier when they socialize less. That's because deep thinkers often prefer time alone to process, reflect, and create, rather than filling their days with small talk and distractions. Another study from the University of Buffalo found that people who embrace solitude for personal growth tend to have stronger mental resilience. These men aren't running from life, they're mastering it on their own terms. And when it comes to creativity, some of the greatest minds in history, Nikola Tesla, Steve Jobs, Einstein, didn't get their breakthroughs at social gatherings. They found them in deep, focused solitude. That's the power of time alone. When you're alone, you have the space to think, to focus, to build something real. But here's the problem. Society doesn't want you to realize this. Because the truth is, the world benefits when men are distracted. Distracted by chasing approval, distracted by unhealthy relationships, distracted by pointless entertainment. But the men who embrace solitude, they break free from that. They invest in themselves. Now,
And to land back the narrator's point, something that I always say is a man that the number one threat to the society is a man that knows his worth, a man that knows his value. You're actually, and I've heard this myself, you're actually here, women, because this world, it benefits off of the downfall of the Israelite man. All right, it benefits off of an Israelite man not knowing who he is, being in that Gentile state of mind. The world benefits off that. The nations benefit. Eve, she's able to have her fun, have her way. All right. Everyone benefits off of the Israelite man being down, because, we're in an age where men are waking up to an extent, because you're never going to truly find yourself until you come into this wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, but nevertheless, there's a spirit out there the Lord has to where men are starting to wake up, and, because the whole world is operating off of the vibration of the Israelites. All right. And mainly the elect, because a lot of these Israelite groups, man, they're stuck on one level. They're stuck on being stagnant. All right. That might be a lesson for itself, stuck on being stagnant, but as we grow in Yahweh Bashim Shai, and because like I said, the whole world really operates off of the elect. All right. Because, at one point in time, having a fully grown beard, letting your beard grow, all right, it was looked down upon. People consider you homeless, look at you like you were homeless or something. But now a lot of these dudes, they want to grow their beards, because at one point the thing was to, get those, like the Apostle Gabar says, man, and I wholeheartedly agree. Getting those little, stupid lineups and things of that nature to look appeasing to this world. All right. And you see, this is not a world friendly doctrine. A man, he's supposed to have a roughness about him, an austere look about him. It's like when you cut a lion's mane, that's basically equivalent to castrating a man. All right. You cut a lion's mane, hey, he forgets who he is. He forgets he's the king of the jungle. It has a major psychological effect, and again, as a man in this society, men have been spiritually castrated. But again, the world benefits off that. So going back to the point that I always make the point about how, again, the number one threat to the society is a man that knows his worth, a man that knows his value. All right. And like I say, even though a lot of these dudes that are waking up, they're not in the truth, but still, all right, this is why you have all these big time movements, these red pill movements and things of that nature, and of course the real value man is a man of Yahweh Shema Shai, an elect man at that. All right. But a lot of that comes through solitary, being in solitude. All right. And this is why Yahweh Shema Shai oftentimes, being separated from the society. All right. This is why you oftentimes find yourself, I'm not going to say alone, but again, the Lord just has it to where oftentimes you're just separated. All right. You never really fit in, and things of that nature. Right. Because, hey, that's that time, you and Yahweh Shema Shai, working in you, working through you. You wonder why oftentimes, because, brothers are deprived from a lot of things. And really, that's the Lord protecting us. He's saving us. Because a lot of these things, getting that 500, working for that 500 fortune company, it'll, if the Lord is protecting you from it, 10 times out of 10, it's because, eventually that'll take you away from the truth, take you away from the Lord. That woman that you you might think that, you can handle it. You might think that you're strong enough to, put your foot down and be a man, because, Jacob, hey, a lot of us have the attitude that, hey, we ain't gonna let no bitch deter us from this truth, but hey, the Lord knows us better than we know ourselves. So, there's just a lot of things that the Lord protects us from. He's preserving us from, because it'll take away that time with Yahweh Shema Shai. And, this is something that I put in the chat with brothers. This past Friday, because I was really debating all last week, because usually I go out with Friday with the beloved brother Ariah, and we, do our street ministry. And I was really debating all week, man, should I, go out with the bro, or really just take this time out, man, and just, hey, go on a date with the Lord, and, I ended up going to the beach, man, and just really, like I said, man, just take a time out to meditate, decompress a little bit, just get my thoughts together, just meditate on Yahweh Shai, because that's why I said earlier that alone time is really not alone time. It's just, that solitude time, that time of solitary, being in solitude, and it's a good thing, because this is the time often where we're being built up and the Lord is dealing with us. We're growing in the Lord. So that solitude is a good thing, And since I mentioned that, hey, I would encourage all you brothers, however it may apply to you, to, hey, go on a date with the Lord, take time out to, because it's how I look at it. Oftentimes the man, he's the one that's planning, right? Making things happen, get things done, right? He's the one that plans the dates, takes the girl out, whatever the case may be. But every now and then, when when the woman, when she steps up and takes initiative, it's a, hey, because Jake definitely isn't used to that. So, when the woman steps up and she, decides to, hey, I want to, she wants to take the man out, and she takes care of the bill, it's special, So like I said, I would definitely encourage every brother to, take time out, Spend time with the Lord. Go on a date with the Lord. Like I said, man, I ended up going to the beach on Friday, man, and just just me and the Lord. Talk to the Lord. Shed a few tears. Just really express myself. Meditate. You know, I'm actually still high off that. I can't wait to do it again. But it is things like that are definitely needed. It's important. So that solitude, you know, it's a good thing. But I'm playing some more.
Talk about something that most men feel, but don't always say out loud. For some men, relationships don't bring peace. They bring exhaustion. It's not about hating women. It's not about avoiding love. It's about energy management. Because relationships, especially modern ones, demand constant emotional effort, constant texting, checking in, and managing expectations. Constant talking, listening, filtering words, avoiding conflict. Constant giving of time, attention, resources, without always getting the same in return. For some men, that's fulfilling. For others, it's draining. And here's the uncomfortable truth. A lot of modern relationships don't recharge men. They drain them. How many men feel like they're constantly giving in a relationship, but rarely receiving the same energy back? How many feel like they have to walk on eggshells, managing emotions, filtering words, playing the role of the provider and the protector, while their own needs are ignored? That's why some men choose solitude. Not because they're incapable of love, but because being alone gives them something modern relationships don't: peace. Here's what's
And you see, again, because in the midst of chaos, you got to find your peace. And that, of course, our peace is in Yahweh Shai. Brothers are multitaskers. Brothers deal with a lot. Brothers juggle a lot. But, at the end of the day, we still got to, maintain and maintain our peace in Yahweh Shai. All right. That's why, like Apostle Paul said, hey, if you have a wife, be as though you ain't got one. Because like I said earlier, hey, the Lord, he moves things around for his elect. He moves pieces around, and that can include individuals. All right. The Lord will bring certain people in your life, take them, remove them from your life. All right. As a matter of fact, because, being in the society, again, it has a real, like the narrator was saying, just that real succubus spirit, man. This place will really drain the life out of you if you allow it. All right. And again, that's why, hey, Yahweh Ba'Shem El Shai, man, finding that peace in Yahweh Shai, having that solitude, that solitary, because like I said, even in the midst of chaos, people, they don't understand it, but, in the midst of all the chaos, brothers know how to just, like I said, zone out and just, because when people see a man of the Lord, man, a man of the Lord, man, and, to these people, they just, they could see that we're just somewhere else, we're our mind is just, our spirit is totally elsewhere, because one thing as a man, you definitely got to protect your peace, man. That's why you got to be careful what energy you allow around you. What energy you allow into your space. All right, because it's a constant vexation. It's a constant aggravation of our spirits. So that's another thing. Protecting your peace, protecting your energy. Because understand, man, it ain't nothing but demons on these people, and they trying to fuck with you. They trying to throw your spirit off. But that's why many key things in this thing of ours, such as discipline, temperance, the scriptures say, resist the devil and he'll flee. Because these spirits doing everything in their power that the Lord allows them to do to throw us off, to get us out of our spirit, get us out of our zone, to throw our vibration off. So that's why, again, we gotta, protect as a man, protect your peace, protect your energy, Back in the 2 Timothy 2:4, no man that warreth entangleth himself with the affairs of this life, that he may please him who hath chosen him to be a soldier. So you see, because like I keep saying, brothers got a lot going on. All right, a lot of distractions. All right. But at the end of the day, keep it Yahweh Shai. All right. Stay focused in Yahweh Shai. Find your peace in Yahweh Shai. All right. Let me grab this. One of my favorites to meditate on. Because like I said, it's easy to get thrown off in this environment. It's easy to just go off the tracks, man. It's hard, trying to stay focused, and it's just hard, but it's not impossible. Luke chapter 10:38. Now it came to pass as they went that he entered into a certain village, and a certain woman named Martha received him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, which also sat at Yahushua's feet and heard his words. So imagine this, all right, before I read on, imagine this, here it is, the Messiah himself is supping with you, all right, and your family. He's in your house, because it mentioned Mary sitting at Yahushua's feet, right? Verse 40, but Martha was cumbered about much serving, and came to him and said, Lord, doest thou not care that my sister have left me to serve alone? Bid her therefore that she help me. And Yahushua answered and said unto her, Martha, Martha, thou art careful and troubled about many things. But one thing is needful, and Mary hath chosen that good part, which shall not be taken away from her. So what's the point here is that, again, like I said, the Messiah, here he is. Here it is. He's sitting there. He's right there with them. All right, Yahushua, he's teaching. He's there, right there with them. And Mary, she was in the right spirit, because she's the one that, again, she was sitting at Yahushua's feet, listening, supping, right? But Mary, she had a lot going on. She was doing too much. She had a lot going on. And she's complaining to Yahushua about Mary, basically Mary being lazy, But hey, like Yahushua said, hey, the thing that's needful, hey, Mary have chosen the good part, and it wasn't going to be taken away from her. You see? Because again, Yahushua was right there, and that's the point. As I've been saying throughout the video, hey, keep it Yahushua, all right? Despite whatever brothers got going on, hey, stay focused in Yahushua. With all the distractions and all the chaos that's going on in brothers' minds, and in your environments, hey, stay focused in Yahushua. Mary, she was in the right spirit. All right. Mary was the one that was in the right spirit. You see? So I'll play the rest of this video.
Tell you, when you're alone, you're in control. Nobody is draining your time. Nobody is demanding your energy. Nobody is setting expectations that don't align with your vision. You wake up and decide what your day looks like. You set your own goals. And that's why some of the most powerful, influential, and legendary men in history lived alone. They weren't out at parties every weekend. They weren't chasing temporary highs. They weren't constantly seeking approval. They were focused. They were building. They were becoming legends. But let's be clear. Just because you prefer to be alone doesn't mean you should waste it. Some men spend their solitude growing, mastering, and evolving. Other men spend their solitude stagnating, wasting time, and numbing themselves. That's the difference between the lone wolf and the lost wolf. If you're going to choose the path of solitude, then you need to commit to it. Make it your edge. Use that time to train your body, get stronger, healthier, more disciplined. Train your mind, read, learn, develop unshakable mental toughness. Train your skills, build something of value, create, innovate. Because if you're going to stand alone, you need to make sure you're standing taller than the rest. The world will tell you that being alone is a problem. But But for some men, solitude isn't loneliness, it's freedom. It's not weakness, it's strength. It's not isolation, it's power, but only if you use it. So if you prefer solitude, don't waste it. Don't let it turn into passivity. Let it fuel your evolution. Because while the world is distracted, while others are chasing temporary highs, while most people are seeking validation, you'll be building something real. And when the time comes, when you emerge from your solitude stronger, sharper, and more prepared than ever, the world won't know what hit it.
So you see, man, the scriptures talk about how, roughly paraphrasing, wisdom comes by leisure, and again, that having those solitude moments, those moments where it's just you and Yahweh Shema Shai, rather than in those moments, being stagnant, being lazy. The scriptures talk about that, not being like a sloth, just being lazy, not being productive in the spirit, just being stagnant, The scriptures say that this truth is like living waters. There's always something, There's always something to do, always something to learn, always something to achieve, to accomplish. There's never a dull moment in this thing of ours. And this is how we grow in Yahweh Shema Shai. And again, more so finding that inner peace, that peace in Yahweh Shai, in the midst of all this chaos. All right. Because like I said, man, just with everything that brothers deal with, everything that brothers juggle, man, in those moments where just in those moments, I can speak for myself, it just makes me focus more on in Yahweh Shai. Like I said, just being able to having that ability to zone out and just Yahweh Shai, But I'm gonna grab this. I'm gonna end it in Isaiah 56. Because again, we're not alone. We're not lonely. Isaiah 56 and verse 4. For thus saith the Lord unto the eunuchs that keep my Sabbaths and choose the things that please me and take hold of my covenant. Even unto them will I give in mine house and within my walls a place and a name better than of sons and of daughters. I will give them an everlasting name that shall not be cut off. So the point being in going into these eunuchs. All right. Now when you think about a eunuch, immediately, you'll probably think about, someone, a man that gets his rod chopped off. But there's different definitions of a eunuch, and one of the definitions of a eunuch is just, someone that separates himself. And like the narrator was going into, because this is where some of the best minds come from, the best minds, the best inventions, they come from having this type of a solitude type of mindset, being separated. And even more so in our case, the hope of the leg, being separated in Yahweh Shai, being focused in Yahweh Shai, being concentrated in Yahweh Shai. All right. So again, that those having those solitude moments, it could be a good thing, Of course, if it's applied correctly, it could be a good thing. But that was pretty much it there. Lord willing, this was edifying. Giving all praises to Yahweh Shema Shai. Shalom to you, hopefully elect.